Hi Art 200 class, I'm Elena Reyes and I conducted my investigative project on the Beatles album cover Abbey Road. I decided to present on the adored album cover because the Beatles are an iconic band and this album is one of my all-time favorites. Before I commence, here is some background information on the famous band. The eminent band was comprised of 4 members, including John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. The English rock band was first discovered in the early 1960s in Liverpool, England. In the beginning, Lennon, McCartney, and Harrison played gigs at local caverns, but it wasn't until the Beatles signed a record deal that Starr joined the band. In 1963, the Beatles finally issued their first album. Over the course of 6 years, the Beatles released countless beloved albums and singles that changed the industry and the way people viewed music. The most notable and quite possibly the most acclaimed album distributed by the Beatles is Abbey Road, released in 1969. The Abbey Road album cover is more than just a prevalent guise. It has heavy importance to the band's later years. The Beatles' Abbey Road album cover conveys a message of farewell represented by the band members walking away. Abbey Road was the last recorded album created by the iconic band. However, it was not the last album released by the Beatles. This album portrays the struggles and afflictions that the band endured while working together. Abbey Road is more symbolic than just a typical album cover. It represents an end to a musical era and foreshadows events that occur after the release of it. This brings me to my claim. Although Abbey Road was one of the most renowned albums ever created, it provoked great controversy amongst fans. In the Daily Mail UK article pictured the Beatles album cover that started a decades-long conspiracy theory. Notes how the Beatles' Abbey Road album cover sparked an interest of machination amongst people. Many assumed that one of the band members, Paul McCartney, was dead and that the album cover was a way for the band to clue in their fans. According to the article, narrative states that McCartney passed away in a car accident and an imposter took his place. Apparently, the symbols lie within the album to confirm the conspiracy theory. John Lennon represents a preacher with his all-white attire. Ringo Starr acts as a mourner in all black. George Harrison enacts as a gravedigger in his grungy outfit. And Paul McCartney, without a doubt, is portrayed as the corpse with his mature suit and bare feet. Additionally, on the cover, McCartney was the only one holding a cigarette. The cigarette implies a message of death because back then they were known as coffin nails. Moreover, the cop car in the background suggests that police kept quiet on the ordeal. There appears to be more evidence promoting the theory, but they are less convincing than the rest. Nonetheless, the Daily Mail UK article analyzes Abbey Road to its full potential. In addition to the album evoking conspiracy theories, the photograph itself captivates people to look at the cover. The cover showcases the Beatles walking across Abbey Road in Westminster, London, making it now an iconic place. It also displays cars parked along the road as well as a car driving in the distance. What makes this cover so special is how simple yet artistic it is. On the contrary, many might not view it as, but this album cover is a form of art. It embodies a design of entertainment and its use is to bring others delight, just like formal artwork. Art is used to make others feel something, and this album does just that. Simultaneously, the Abbey Road album cover could be viewed as popular culture because it encompasses same characteristics. Popular culture art is perceived as being commercial, entertaining, and colorful, as affirmed in the Exploring Arts textbook by Margaret Lazari and Donna Schleiser. On another note, during and after the release of Abbey Road, the Beatles experienced hardships that ultimately led to the well-known band's demise. In a Chicago Tribune article, Business Caused Beatles to Break Up, published in 1986, states that fame and fortune took their toll on the iconic band. Paul McCartney explains in the article that the Beatles started working for the business aspect instead for the music. The four members drifted apart and had different ideas for the band's future. Furthermore, in the Rolling Stones issue from 2012, 500 Greatest Albums of All Time, the Beatles' Abbey Road is noted as number 14 on the list. In the article, George Martin, the producer, states how the album was almost never created due to the band's creative differences. Allegedly, the Beatles were close to parting ways but were later reclaimed in the final album, Let It Be. Since the band members assumed that this would be their last album, they wanted to put every effort into making it the most memorable one yet. The Beatles worked together to make a unique album with different harmonies. Essentially, the band was on the verge of breaking up but put their differences aside to create a masterpiece. Although the band went separate ways in 1970, there was always hope for reunion amongst fans. There was even talk from a few of the Beatles that they might compose more music together. However, in 1980, John Lennon was brutally murdered by David Chapman. In his book, The Beatles, John Tobler writes how a crazed fan broke into Lennon's apartment and killed the famous band member by fatally shooting him. Lennon's untimely death caused huge uproar across the world. Despite fans being devastated by the loss, it was the former band members that felt the most grievance. Tobler inscribes how the band mourned the loss of their friend and how they even created new music in honor of John Lennon. With the loss of John Lennon, all expectation for more music by the Beatles was gone. This was an end to a musical era. To conclude, the Beatles were arguably one of the most dignified bands and produced sublime content for its time. Specifically, Abbey Road had the greatest impact across the globe. This soundtrack has deeper meaning than previous albums and singles. Also, the album cover transmits a message of goodbye as it was the last studio album constructed by the band. Abbey Road is symbolic in more than one way, and hopefully it brings immense joy to everyone who listens to it. Thank you.